What are some of the traits of an ideal franchise owner?
Like you said earlier, I think being hungry, right?
Sure.
That's always a big, part of it.
Which is hard to
Uh,
measure, by the way, when you first meet somebody, right? Especially you go through the discovery day process and everybody seems like a great candidate because everybody's on their best behavior like they are in a job interview. And so hunger is like one of those really tough things to gauge. You could use an assessment behavioral tool like a predictive index or culture index and or disc and kind of get a flavor for how the person is. But measuring some of these things is real difficult. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, but I'll be honest, Frank, I don't get enough candidates to be that picky. So
Okay.
we, if I start to get 100 candidates a week, I'm going to worry about that problem when it happens, and I'll select the best one.
Fair enough. So, but
But
who is that
but
ideal owner for you?
but currently, somebody who has enough money
Hmm.
first. No, I'm just joking. Um, but the truth is really, just good quality people, right? That's really what I look for. I look for people who are, looking to they really buy into the part of, the experience, right? Of what we're trying to provide to people. And they really are not just focused on, well, how much money are we going to make, right? Or, can we do commercial work? Can we do, they start to add, a lot of times they start to ask questions that the answer is not the one that they want to hear from me.
Hmm.
And so I always let them know. I say, listen, I feel it sounds to me like you might be better off with a different type of franchise because that's probably going to be better for you. That fits more of your thought process. Ours is different. And so um I really try to truly just get people I really feel have the right attitude. That's it, right?
Yeah.
They just want to have a better life. And I think those are the ones that we've had the most success with.
Do you have an expectation for a franchise owner to be operating the business, or can it be manager operated? How involved do they need to
I
be?
I think obviously always when the owner runs the business, it's better, right?
Hmm.
There's no doubt about that. But I also will say we have different people doing different things. And what I try to explain to people is we can do anything the way you want to do it, but the expectations have to be realistic, right? Like if you are going to run this business yourself and do this full time, well, then obviously the amount of money you're going to be able to make is going to be better, right? But
Right.
if you go out and hire a manager and you got to hire another person in the office and you're going to hire a salesperson, it's going to be a while before you make any money,
Yeah.
right?
Can you
And as
share
long
any?
as,
Can you share an example maybe of a franchisee that exceeded your expectations, and what do they do to achieve this success?
yeah, I mean, uh, again, Miguel, who is the first employee. They're in Lexington, North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody listening out there, just imagine nowhere, right? Okay. That's what you can imagine. Okay. And so they have, in a short period of time, really, really built a very, very good business, right? And if they had a little bit more people, they could be over $1 million, in a couple years.
What did Miguel and his team do that made it different?
They do everything that they're asked of, right? When they first started, they put out over 200 signs, right? They put out over 10,000 door hangers, right? When things would slow down, they didn't just sit there and look at their phone and say, "Oh my God, nobody called," right? They went out and made things happen.
Mhm. So
They,
they pounded the pavement and made sure they did
they
all the
made it
marketing.
happen.
Yeah.
They did everything that I asked them to do.
Hmm.
Whether it's, getting, one of our big things is getting relationships with like a contractor, not like a general contractor, but like home remodeling contractor, roofing contractors, interior decorators.
Hmm.
And so what that does for them, if you can get these relationships and start to generate some work that you don't have to work so hard for, makes the regular estimates simpler. Because what happens at the beginning, many franchisees we have want to get every job they go look at,
Hmm.
right? Every time. They want everyone. And for me, I try to tell them like maybe you really don't, right? Like,
Hmm.
this morning, a location just opened up in South Carolina. They're giving painting kitchen cabinets $2,500. The customer sent them a list of questions, 19 questions. So he says, "How do I answer these?" I wrote back, "Run. That's what you should do. Run." If they have this many questions about painting kitchen cabinets, I would be very worried,
Mm.
right? Because to me, it's telling me no matter what you do, they're never going to be happy. You
There's
could be
gonna
perfect,
right. Yeah.
right? It's going to be an issue. So I have this, we say this all the time. I can stay home and not make any money. I certainly don't want to go work for it.
Right.
Right. And so you're better off sometimes not taking that job, even if you think you really want it because of all the problems that are come with it. And so that's something that our franchisees, even though you tell them these things, until they experience the negativity and all those things, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I get it. Now, when I go do the estimate and they say, oh, we're looking for someone to do a really good job. No, right? But you know what that really means
Mm-hmm.
is that they were looking for somebody to do a really good job for no money, right?
Mm.
Or they'll say, hey, oh, we called 5 or 6 people and nobody called us back. You know what that really means? They called 5 or 6 people and they didn't like those prices. So they're hoping yours is going to be cheaper, right?
Right.
And so when you start to pick up on these small little things, you can eliminate your problems from the beginning, right? Many people will call up and say this job, oh, this job is the customer this, the customer that. And I say, all right, let's back up to the beginning. Let's go back to the estimate because that's where it went wrong. I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, did they ask you anything peculiar or talk about anything peculiar? And a lot of times say, oh, they did say they had to fire their last contractor. And I'm like, that's a warning sign.
Mm.
How many people, why they have to fire them? Were the contractors so bad or were they so bad? Right? And so there's things that people tell you that are giving you the signs to say, you don't want to work here. This
Mm-hmm.
is not for you. But you go past that because you think you need that job. And what I instruct every franchise every single time is, has the phone been ringing since you started? Yes. Have you gotten jobs? Yes. Do you think you'll never get another phone call? Do you think you'll never get another job? No, you will. You just don't need this one. And so, so much of what we do sometimes is just being, keep it simple. Just try to eliminate your problems before they are,
Mm-hmm.
and then it makes the jobs much more fun and usually way more profitable. So there's nothing like, training. Our training process is, yes, initial training, but the real training and guidance is as they do it, right? And as they get those first jobs, as they do those first estimates, and as we walk through all the steps and all the things that are happening and trying to make the best decisions as you go, that's where I think we are the most successful.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.